Welcome, weary traveler, to another quiet journey through the distant past. You are listening to The Drowsy Historian, where together we wander softly through history, guided by gentle voices and soothing stories. Tonight, we set out upon the Silk Road, one of the most famous trade networks in the world, stretching across vast deserts, soaring mountains, and ancient cities. For over 1,000 years, merchants and explorers made this perilous trek, driven by the promise of fortune, discovery, and cultural exchange. Along the way, they faced many trials. Sandstorms, sickness, bandits, and biting cold were constant companions. And yet, across the shifting sands and along winding caravan routes, wonders also awaited. Rich silks, fragrant spices, sacred art, and new ideas traveled from east to west. As you settle in and allow your mind to drift, imagine yourself joining such a caravan. The stars above, the cool desert air, and the distant echoes of camel bells. Let us begin gently with life along this ancient path. Chapter 1: Caravan Campfire Under Cold Stars. Picture the darkness of the desert night, vast and still. Above, countless stars shimmer in the crisp black sky. Below, a small caravan halts after a long day's march. The air is thin and cold, each breath visible as soft mist. Merchants and guides move quietly among the resting camels, unloading bundles of silk, spices, and other precious cargo. There is a hush here, broken only by the creak of leather, the faint jingling of harness bells, and the soft rustle of sand beneath worn boots. A fire is built, its glow pushing back the dark. Around it, travelers gather, wrapped in thick wool cloaks, faces weathered by wind and sun. Their garments are layered and practical, designed for survival across shifting climates. Fur-lined hoods, long robes, and sturdy boots protect them from the chill. The firewood, carefully carried from the last oasis, burns slowly, its fragrant smoke rising into the night. Low voices begin to murmur. Tales are traded in many tongues: Persian, Arabic, Mongolic, Turkic, and Chinese. These merchants hail from distant lands, drawn together by commerce and necessity. They share news of markets, changing prices, and distant rulers. One recounts the hardships of a recent sandstorm that nearly claimed his caravan. Another speaks of a new silk dye that commands high value in Constantinople. The conversations are calm, almost hypnotic, their rhythms matching the crackling fire. The camels, kneeling nearby, sigh and grumble softly. They too are weary, their heavy loads set aside for the night. They rest on padded knees, chewing cud with deliberate patience. Their thick coats offer some protection against the cold, but a sharp wind still stirs their flanks. Blankets are draped over the youngest animals. A sense of fragile comfort settles over the camp. Food is simple but welcome. Flatbreads baked earlier in the day are warmed at the fire's edge. Dried fruits, nuts, and preserved meats are passed around. A pot of tea, steeped with local herbs, simmers gently. The aroma is soothing, filling the chill air with warmth and memory. Hands wrapped around clay cups, the travelers sip slowly, grateful for the moment's peace. Beyond the firelight, the desert stretches endlessly. Shadows move with the breeze, sometimes playing tricks on the eye. Some whisper of spirits that wander these empty spaces. But fatigue is stronger than fear. One by one, the merchants lay out their bedding, woolen blankets and thick mats, arranged close to the warmth. The ground is hard, but sleep will come. The stars wheel above, steady and ancient. Beneath them, life on the Silk Road continues its quiet rhythm. The desert holds its secrets, vast and unmoved. For these travelers, the journey resumes at first light. For now, only the crackle of fire, the sigh of wind, and the soft breathing of the resting camp remain. Morning arrives slowly in the desert. The first pale light touches the horizon, softening the edges of the dunes. Cold still clings to the air, though the promise of the rising sun brings a subtle change. Within the camp, travelers stir from their slumber. Thick blankets are folded away, bedrolls tied once more. Breath still mists in the dawn air, but the bustle of morning tasks soon warms chilled hands. The camels are roused, led to shallow bowls of water prepared the night before. Their groans and snorts fill the morning stillness. Each animal is carefully checked. The health of the caravan depends on their strength and endurance. Their broad feet, adapted for sand, are inspected for injury. Saddles and packs are secured with practiced hands, the heavy loads balanced with precision. A simple breakfast is shared. Leftover flatbreads are warmed again, this time with honey or dried fruit. A new pot of tea steams gently. The ritual is unhurried, a small comfort before the challenges of the road resume. Conversation remains soft, words spoken in tones that respect the quiet dawn. There's a shared understanding here. Today's path will be long and demanding. As the sun rises, its light deepens from gold to clear brightness. Shadows retreat across the sand. The desert's vastness becomes visible once more, an endless landscape of wind-carved dunes and rocky outcrops. Paths are chosen with care. Some are faint tracks, marked by stone cairns or remembered landmarks. Others shift with each storm, their course uncertain. The caravan moves in a slow, steady rhythm. Camels lead, their gait swaying and patient. Merchants walk beside them or ride light ponies, conserving the animal's strength. The procession stretches across the landscape, a thin line of life moving through an ancient and indifferent land. The air grows warmer, the chill of night replaced by the dry breath of the desert day. Clothing layers are adjusted, hoods raised to block the sun, eyes narrow against the glare. The wind carries fine sand, whispering past exposed skin. It is a constant presence, shaping both land and traveler. Pauses are few. At midday, a brief stop allows for water and a rest beneath whatever shade can be found. Stories are exchanged again, often returning to memories of other journeys. Merchants speak of fortunes made and lost, of distant ports and exotic goods. The rhythm of life on the Silk Road weaves through their words, binding past and present. By afternoon, the caravan presses on. The landscape changes subtly, dunes giving way to stony flats or dry riverbeds. Animal tracks cross the path, signs of unseen life. Overhead, a lone hawk circles lazily, its cry lost in the wind. Each step forward brings the travelers closer to their next destination, though many days remain ahead. As evening approaches, thoughts turn again to camp. A suitable site is sought, sheltered if possible. The day's weariness settles into limbs and minds. Yet beneath it lies a quiet resilience, the strength that carries these travelers mile after mile. Once more, a fire will be lit, stories shared, and the cold stars will wheel above. Such is the rhythm of the Silk Road, a rhythm that has endured for centuries beneath the vast, patient sky. Chapter 2. Sandstorms of the Taklamakan. Imagine yourself deep within the heart of the Taklamakan Desert. Known to many as the Desert of Death, it stretches across western China, a vast expanse of shifting sands and scorching sun. The name itself whispers a warning. Once you enter, you may never leave. Its dunes rise in sweeping arcs, ever-changing, shaped by winds that have scoured this land for millennia. For caravans crossing this unforgiving terrain, every day is a test of endurance. Paths disappear beneath new drifts of sand. Landmarks vanish as though swallowed by the earth itself. Even the most seasoned guides move with caution here, reading the desert's moods and subtle signs. The way sand gathers in hollows, the patterns etched by wind, the flight of distant birds. It begins as a faint stirring in the air. The morning is clear, the sun climbing steadily. Then a thin line appears on the horizon, low and dark. Travelers know to watch for such signs. A sandstorm can rise with terrifying speed, driven by fierce winds from the surrounding mountains and plains. What starts as a breeze becomes a force of nature. The alarm is quiet but urgent. Camp is broken swiftly, animals gathered and secured. Heavy claws are drawn across faces, leaving only the eyes exposed. Camels are made to kneel, their heads covered with protective hoods. The smallest among them are clustered close, shielded by the larger beasts. Riders pull scarves tighter, checking each strap and knot. There is no escape from the storm, only preparation. The wind arrives first, hissing through the air, lifting loose sand into swirling eddies. The brightness of day fades, the sky turning a muted amber. Within moments, the light is gone, replaced by a dense, churning gloom. Fine sand fills the air, seeking every gap, stinging skin, choking breath. Movement becomes nearly impossible. The world shrinks to a few paces in any direction. Sound too is muffled, reduced to the low roar of wind and the occasional call of a fellow traveler. The ground beneath shifts with each gust, footing uncertain. Every choice must be deliberate, every step measured. For hours, sometimes longer, the storm rages. There is no telling how far one has traveled, no way to judge direction. Compass and instinct alike are rendered useless in this swirling void. Many caravans have been lost in such storms, their remains buried beneath new dunes, only to be uncovered years later by shifting sands. Yet those who survive do so with patience and resolve. They hunker close, conserving energy, trusting their companions. Water is rationed, faces remain covered. Eyes sting, throats burn, but the mind must stay calm. To panic here is to be lost. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, the storm begins to wane. The winds lose their edge, the sand settles. Shapes emerge from the haze. The first glimpses of the sun, dimmed and ghostly, offer hope. Breathing easier now, travelers uncurl stiff limbs, checking each other for signs of distress. The camels, faithful and enduring, rise once more, their long lashes dusted with fine grit. The aftermath is one of silence and weariness. The landscape has changed again, familiar features erased. New dunes block old paths. Equipment is checked, supplies counted. Losses are noted with quiet resignation. And yet, after a brief rest, the caravan must move on, for to linger is to invite further danger. Such is the reality of crossing the Taklamakan. No amount of skill or preparation can fully tame this desert. Each journey through its sands is an act of courage, each survivor a bearer of new stories. And as the caravan resumes its slow, steady pace, the travelers know the storm will not be their last. The caravan presses on. After the storm, the desert feels oddly hushed, the air heavy with fine dust. The sun returns, but its light seems filtered, as though the sky itself is veiled. Each breath carries a faint taste of grit. Each step leaves a shallow imprint upon the sand. Yet there is no choice but to move forward. The Taklamakan will not wait, and the nearest oasis lies many days ahead. Progress is slow. The storm has altered the landscape in ways both subtle and profound. Familiar trails are gone, buried beneath new dunes or scoured away. The caravan's guides, men who have spent their lives in these lands, must rely now on instinct, on the position of the sun, on scattered clues that hint at direction. A line of bleached stones, the memory of a distant ridge, the faint scent of water carried on the wind. Each sign is precious, each decision deliberate. The travelers are subdued. Conversation fades, replaced by the steady sounds of movement. The soft thud of camel feet, the creak of leather straps, the occasional murmur of encouragement to an animal struggling beneath its load. Thirst tugs at every thought. Water is rationed carefully, each drop guarded. Skins and jars are checked and rechecked, their contents dwindling with each passing hour. Fatigue weighs heavily, both physical and mental. The storm's toll is visible in slumped shoulders and the slow pace of each footfall. The smallest comforts become treasures. A shared fig, a cool cloth across the face, a brief word of reassurance. These moments bind the travelers together, a fragile thread of camaraderie in the face of the desert's indifference. Even the camels, creatures built for this harsh land, show signs of strain. Their steps falter, their eyes squint against the lingering dust. Yet they press on, driven by the same quiet determination that guides their human companions. In this vast emptiness, all life depends on endurance. By late afternoon, the heat intensifies. The sand beneath radiates warmth, rising in shimmering waves. Shadows grow sharper, darker. The travelers adjust their coverings once more, seeking what protection they can. Faces are hidden, eyes shielded, every inch of skin defended against the relentless sun. Occasionally, the wind stirs again. Not the full force of a storm, but a sharp gust that sends eddies of sand skittering across the dunes. Each such moment brings a flicker of unease. Another storm could arise without warning. The desert offers no guarantees. When the caravan finally pauses to rest, it is with a weariness that runs deep. There's little talk. Packs are lowered with care, animals tended in silence. A simple meal is prepared. Dried meat, a handful of dates, cool water measured carefully into shared cups. The act of eating is deliberate, almost ceremonial, a way to reclaim a measure of order amid the uncertainty. As evening approaches, the light softens, the air cooling at last. The sky shifts through shades of gold and rose, a fleeting beauty that offers a moment's respite. Camp is made, fires lit, though smaller now, fuel running low. Around the flickering flames, travelers sit in quiet reflection. No grand tales tonight, only a shared awareness of the day's trials. Above, the stars emerge once more, bright and watchful. Beneath them, the caravan sleeps. The tackle-wagon holds its silence, vast and unchanged. And in the hearts of these weary travelers, a simple hope takes root, that tomorrow will bring clearer skies and a path toward safety. Chapter 3. The plague follows the Silk Road. The Silk Road carried much more than silk and spices. Along these ancient paths, ideas and inventions traveled between east and west. So too did invisible dangers. Among the most feared was plague, a shadowy presence that could devastate cities and villages alike. For travelers on the road, illness was a constant threat, unseen but ever near. Imagine a bustling caravanserai, one of the many roadside inns scattered along the trade routes. Here, merchants and pilgrims from distant lands gather, seeking food, shelter, and companionship. The courtyard hums with quiet energy. Camels kneel beneath shaded arcades. Goods are unpacked, deals quietly struck. In the cool dimness of stone-walled rooms, travelers rest and talk in many tongues. Yet not all is well. Whispers move through the crowd, carried in cautious voices. News of sickness in a nearby town. A trader's family fallen ill. Rumors of blackened swellings, of sudden fevers. No one knows for certain, but unease lingers in every glance. The memory of past outbreaks weighs heavily on all. Those who remember tell grim tales. Empty streets, shuttered homes, funerary pyres burning through the night. The Silk Road connects cities across vast distances, but with connection comes risk. Fleas hidden in bales of cloth, rats nesting among supplies, human contact in close quarters. The disease moves silently, often unnoticed until it is too late. A single infected caravan can spread illness from one end of the continent to the other, crossing deserts, mountains, and seas. For the travelers themselves, the signs are familiar. A fever that grips the body without warning, swelling in the neck or groin, painful to the touch, weakness that deepens by the hour. There is little to be done. Physicians offer herbs, poultices, prayers, but the outcome is often grim. Those struck by the plague are quickly isolated, their bedding burned, their companions watching from a fearful distance. In towns along the road, the rhythm of life falters. Markets grow quiet, inns close their gates, streets empty as families withdraw into their homes. Fear spreads faster than the illness itself. Merchants hesitate to enter stricken cities. Caravans detour, adding weeks to already long journeys. Goods rot, contracts break. The fragile web of trade begins to unravel. And yet, the road cannot remain empty for long. Commerce must continue, driven by need and opportunity. As soon as the worst has passed, cautious travelers return. They carry with them not only goods, but stories. Of suffering witnessed, of bravery shown, of loved ones lost. The memory of each outbreak becomes part of the Silk Road's collective history, retold around countless fires. For those who journey onward, the experience leaves its mark. They become watchful for subtle signs. A sudden cough in a crowded room, the pallor of a fellow traveler, the scent of burning herbs meant to ward off illness. The road teaches caution, endurance, and the constant awareness that unseen dangers travel as swiftly as any merchant. Now, as the caravan resumes its progress, each step is measured. The lessons of the plague remain fresh. Ahead lie new cities, new markets, and new risks. But the road calls all who follow it. And beneath the ever-changing sky, the travelers press on. Chapter 4. The Travels of Ibn Battuta Now. Imagine yourself journeying in the footsteps of one of the Silk Road's most remarkable travelers, Ibn Battuta. Born in Tangier in 1304, Ibn Battuta was a young man of curiosity and determination. A scholar of law by training, he first set out at the age of 21, intending to perform the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. But what began as a spiritual journey would become one of the longest and most extraordinary voyages of the medieval world. Over nearly 30 years of wandering, Ibn Battuta traveled an estimated 75,000 miles. His path led him across North Africa, through Egypt, along the Red Sea, and deep into the heart of Arabia. From there, he ventured into Persia, across the steppes of Central Asia, and along the Silk Road into India and beyond. His accounts offer us a rare window into the life and rhythms of the road, the people he encountered, and the many cultures that shaped the great trade networks of his age. Picture Ibn Battuta as he makes his way through the bustling city of Damascus, a key stop along the western reaches of the Silk Road. The narrow streets echo with the calls of merchants, the scent of spices and smoke lingering in the air. Here, caravans gather before making the long, perilous trek eastward. Ibn Battuta moves among them, observing, learning. His sharp eye notes the customs of each group, their languages, their wares. He records the presence of travelers from distant lands, their stories mingling beneath the towering minarets. From Damascus, he would press onward through Baghdad, once the heart of the Islamic world, though now marked by decline. The roads beyond grow more uncertain. Bandits stalk the passes, while shifting alliances between regional powers make each crossing a negotiation. Yet Ibn Battuta's charm, wit, and scholarly reputation often open doors. He finds protection in the company of fellow scholars, pious men, and at times the retinues of local rulers. As he reaches the great city of Samarkand, jewel of Central Asia, Ibn Battuta is struck by its beauty. Here, broad avenues are lined with gardens. Blue-tiled domes rise above the skyline. The markets teem with goods from across the known world: Chinese silks, Indian spices, Russian furs, Venetian glass. In shaded courtyards, poets and philosophers debate beneath the watchful gaze of their patrons. Ibn Battuta lingers, gathering tales and insights before moving on. Traveling east, he confronts the daunting challenges of the high mountains and vast deserts. The road into the Taklamakan requires endurance and courage. At caravanserais along the way, he listens to stories of recent storms and banished travelers. Supplies are carefully prepared, waterskin filled. At dawn, the caravan sets forth, each member keenly aware of the dangers ahead. Within the shifting sands, time seems to lose meaning. Ibn Battuta observes the resilience of his companions, traders hardened by years of travel, their camels steady and patient. He watches how they navigate by the stars, by subtle shifts in the wind, by knowledge passed from father to son. In his writings, he speaks of the silence of the desert, the sense of awe it inspires. When at last the caravan emerges from the sands into the oasis towns of the Tarim Basin, relief is profound. Here, life blooms once more. Vineyards stretch beneath mud brick walls. Markets hum with activity. The sounds of laughter and music drift on the breeze. Ibn Battuta's keen interest in the customs of each place fills page after page of his journal, capturing a world in constant motion. Beyond the oasis towns, Ibn Battuta's journey continues into the eastern reaches of the Silk Road. The path leads him toward the great trading centers of China, a land whose wonders had long captured the imagination of travelers. The route is arduous. Rivers must be forded, treacherous passes crossed. Along the way, Ibn Battuta marvels at the engineering of bridges and canals, the skill of craftsmen in even the smallest villages. Reaching the port cities of southern China, he is greeted by a world unlike any he has known. Here, vast junks with towering sails crowd the harbors, laden with porcelain, tea, and lacquerware. The docks bustle with merchants from every corner of Asia and beyond. Languages intertwine. Goods change hands with practiced ease. The rhythms of trade are as ancient as the sea itself. In the city streets, Ibn Battuta observes the ordered life of Chinese society. Bureaucrats in elegant robes conduct affairs of state. Markets overflow with goods, silks in every hue, fragrant spices, delicate scrolls of calligraphy. The precision of daily life impresses him, from the rituals of tea preparation to the structured hierarchies of government and guilds. Yet even amid such splendor, the traveler remains aware of his outsider status. He notes the curiosity of locals who have never seen a man of his appearance. He records the kindness of those who offer him food and lodging, as well as the occasional suspicion from those wary of foreigners. Throughout, Ibn Battuta's words reflect a balance of admiration and keen observation, capturing both the marvels and complexities of the world around him. Throughout his travels, Ibn Battuta remains a meticulous chronicler. He describes not only the grand cities and palaces, but also the quieter aspects of life on the road. The rough fare of caravan camps, the simple hospitality of desert dwellers, the music of distant flutes carried on the wind. His writings reveal a world where hardship and beauty coexist, where the road itself becomes a place of constant discovery. After years of travel, Ibn Battuta eventually returns home, though his journey leaves him forever changed. The Silk Road has woven itself into the fabric of his life. His accounts, penned upon his return, offer future generations a rare and vivid portrait of a world connected by trade, faith, and curiosity. As the caravan he once joined moves onward beneath the vast sky, the legacy of his travels remains. For all who journey along the Silk Road, his words serve as a guide and an inspiration, reminding us of the endless wonders to be found in distant lands. Chapter 5: The Bandits of the Gansu Corridor. Now the road turns north and west through one of its most treacherous stretches, the Gansu Corridor, a narrow ribbon of fertile land wedged between mountains and desert. It is both a vital artery of trade and a place of lurking danger. For centuries, this route carried countless caravans bearing silk, jade, tea, and precious metals. Yet its fame as a highway of commerce was matched by its reputation for ambush and theft. Imagine yourself traveling through this corridor. The land narrows, the desert pressing in from the south, the cold ridges of the Kilian Mountains towering to the north. The road hugs the foothills, winding between craggy outcrops and narrow passes. Here, vision is often limited. A sharp bend, a stand of scrub, a sudden rise of land can conceal hidden eyes. The merchants know this. Each caravan passing through the Gansu corridor travels with heightened vigilance. Scouts ride ahead, eyes scanning for signs of disturbed earth or abandoned camps. Guards, often hired at great expense, keep close watch. Bows are strung and ready. Blades hang at the hip, sharpened with care. The rhythm of the march tightens. Voices drop to hushed tones. Every sound a snapped twig, the distant cry of a bird draws wary glances. Banditry thrives here, born of hardship and opportunity. The wealth moving along this thin strip of land tempts many. Dispossessed farmers, deserters from regional armies, and even soldiers moonlighting as highwaymen form loose bands. They know the terrain intimately, every hidden path and shaded hollow. Their ambush strikes swiftly, aiming to overwhelm with speed and surprise. At times, a bandit attack is preceded by days of quiet tracking. Watching, waiting, learning the habits of the caravan. The best bands choose their moment carefully, seeking the place where the trail narrows, where escape is most difficult. Often, the first sign is a sudden volley of arrows loose from rocky heights. Chaos follows. Merchants scramble for cover, guards form defensive circles. The air fills with shouted orders, the clash of steel, the panicked braying of animals. Such encounters are brutal and swift. Those caravans that can fight off the attackers with minimal loss press on with grim resolve. Others are not so fortunate. Tales circulate among merchants of entire groups disappearing into the hills, their goods and companions never seen again. The ruins of abandoned wagons, the weathered bones of lost travelers, remind all who pass of the risks that shadow this route. To counter the threat, some rulers along the Silk Road established patrols and outposts. Stone watchtowers were built at intervals, their silhouettes stark against the sky. Garrisoned by soldiers, these offered a measure of security, though not a guarantee. For many caravans, protection remained a matter of preparation, vigilance, and fortune. And so the journey through the Gansu corridor proceeds with care. Each milestone reached, each successful crossing is a small triumph. Around the campfires at night, stories of narrow escapes and clever tactics are shared, adding to the lore of the road. Among these seasoned travelers, the lessons of the corridor are well known. Trust your companions, guard your goods, and never let your guard fall. As the caravan continues its slow advance through the Gansu corridor, the landscape offers little comfort. Day after day, the same narrow passage winds onward between stark cliffs and encroaching sands. The sense of being watched never entirely fades. Even in daylight, shadows seem to linger at the edges of vision. Travelers become attuned to every sound, their ears trained to pick out the subtle shift of gravel beneath. Unseen feet or the rustle of leaves disturbed by more than mere wind. By night, the risks deepen. Campfires are kept small, often shielded behind rocks or under makeshift screens to avoid drawing attention. Guards rotate in pairs, pacing quietly along the camp's edge, weapons at the ready. Sleep comes lightly. Many wake often, listening to the silence beyond the tents. Even the animals seem restless, their occasional snorts and shifts echoing louder in the tense darkness. Despite the dangers, the Gansu corridor remains a vital artery of trade. The rewards of reaching its far side can be great. Here, caravans carry more than simple goods. Fine silks from Chang'an, jade from Khotan, intricately woven carpets, fragrant spices, and rare medicinal herbs all pass through these narrow lands. The lure of such riches drives many merchants to brave the risks again and again. With experience comes a certain rhythm to facing these threats. Caravans adopt strategies refined over generations. The order of march is deliberate. Heavily guarded wagons form the center, with scouts and outriders positioned well ahead and behind. At rest, camps are chosen with care, favoring spots where natural barriers offer some protection. Travelers form tight-knit groups, watching each other's backs, bonds of trust growing stronger with each passing mile. Occasionally, encounters with local garrisons or tax collectors offer a chance for brief respite. Though often corrupt, these officials sometimes provide valuable intelligence about bandit movements or safe paths ahead. A carefully placed bribe or well-chosen gift can secure useful guidance, though such exchanges must be handled with discretion. Among the seasoned merchants, tales of notorious bandit leaders are traded with quiet fascination. Names such as Black Fox of the Hills or the Brothers of the Hidden Pass become legends, their exploits recounted around many a fire. Some of these figures are said to show strange codes of honor, sparing certain caravans or returning a portion of stolen goods after a ransom is paid. Others are remembered only for their ruthless efficiency. For the newcomers, these stories serve as both warning and lesson. The Silk Road is not merely a path across the land, but a place where human nature reveals itself in many forms. Courage, greed, loyalty, betrayal all play their part here. The road tests not only the strength of one's body, but the sharpness of mind and the steadiness of spirit. As the caravan at last emerges from the most perilous stretch of the Gansu corridor, relief washes through its ranks. The land begins to widen, the horizon opening once more. The road ahead, though still long and challenging, now seems less ominous. For those who have braved this passage, the experience leaves its mark. The hard-won knowledge of survival becomes part of the traveler's lore, a story to be shared with those who will face these dangers in their own time. Chapter 6. Oasis Towns and Caravanserais, Beyond the Perils of the Gansu Corridor. The Silk Road offers moments of respite. Scattered like jewels across the desert are the oasis towns, each a haven of life amid the arid expanse. For weary travelers, the sight of distant greenery signals safety, rest, and renewal. These towns, sustained by ancient wells and underground canals, have for centuries offered refuge to those journeying across harsh lands. Imagine the approach to such a place after days of travel beneath an unrelenting sun. The air grows cooler, tinged with the scent of water and growing things. Palm trees sway gently above adobe walls. The faint sound of flowing streams reaches your ears. Merchants quicken their pace, spirits lifting. The animals, sensing relief, move with renewed energy. At the heart of many oasis towns lies the caravanserai, a fortress-like inn built to shelter travelers and their goods. Thick walls guard against both bandits and the desert winds. Heavy gates creak open to admit the caravan. Within, a large central courtyard offers space for animals and wagons. Around it, arcades and chambers provide lodging for merchants, guards, and servants. The air is filled with the mingled scents of spices, oil, and baked bread. Upon arrival, the work begins. Camels are unloaded, their burdens carefully stowed. The beasts are led to shaded stalls, given water and fodder. Merchants dust themselves off, stretching weary limbs. Conversations hum through the courtyard, news of the road traded in many tongues. Here, travelers from distant lands mingle. Persians, Turks, Chinese, Arabs, and Europeans, each bringing stories and wares. The comforts of the caravanserai, though simple, feel luxurious to those long on the road. Cool water drawn from deep wells slakes parched throats. A bath, warm or cold, washes away the dust of the trail. Clothes are rinsed and hung to dry. The stiff aches of travel ease beneath the skilled hands of local masseurs. In the common rooms, meals are served. Fragrant rice, tender stews, flatbreads, fresh from clay ovens. The flavors, rich with local herbs and spices, restore both body and spirit. Evening brings a softer rhythm. Lamps flicker in alcoves. Musicians pluck gentle melodies on stringed instruments. Merchants gather in shaded corners, sipping tea or wine, their voices low and measured. Deals are discussed, contracts written. Some recount tales of previous journeys, their voices weaving the lore of the Silk Road. Outside the town's walls, the desert stretches silent and vast, but within, life thrives. Markets bustle by day, their stalls overflowing with fruits, cloth, and metalwork. Temples and mosques rise in quiet reverence, their domes gleaming in the sun. Children dart through narrow streets, their laughter bright against the earthen walls. For a time, the hardships of the road fade into the background, replaced by the simple pleasures of food, rest, and companionship. In these oasis towns, connections are forged, alliances between merchants, friendships across cultures, the flow of goods and ideas. Each stop becomes more than a pause in a journey. It is a place where the Silk Road breathes, a living artery of human endeavor. As the days pass within the oasis town, the rhythms of life along the Silk Road reveal themselves in gentle detail. Each morning begins early. Before the heat of the day rises, the markets stir to life. Merchants unpack their goods beneath colorful awnings. Spices from India and Persia, bolts of fine Chinese silk, intricate metalwork, carved ivory, and fragrant incense from Arabia, all lie displayed for trade. Buyers and sellers haggle softly, their exchanges blending into a soothing chorus of voices and clinking coin. Not far from the market, workshops hum with activity. Artisans shape clay into pottery, weave carpets on wooden looms, and hammer out delicate filigree in silver and gold. Each craft bears the imprint of both local tradition and distant influence. For these towns are crossroads where cultures meet. Patterns learned from Persian masters mingle with motifs from the East, creating designs unique to the Silk Road itself. For the traveling merchants, days in the oasis town are both restful and productive. Wares must be inspected, repacked, or replenished. Camels and horses require attention. Saddles repaired, hooves trimmed, new shoes fitted. Supplies of dried meat, hardtack, grain, and water are purchased for the road ahead. Bargains are struck not only in coin, but in future promises. Credit is extended, debts noted in careful script. Over shared cups of tea or wine, new routes are planned and old acquaintances renewed. Yet amid the practicalities, moments of quiet reflection are found. Beneath the shade of fig and pomegranate trees, travelers pause to enjoy the rare softness of grass beneath their feet. The coolness of the shaded courtyards offers relief from the sun's glare. Here, one might hear a scholar reciting poetry, a storyteller spinning tales of distant lands, or a musician coaxing melodies from a lute. In such moments, the endless road seems far away, the hardships of travel held at bay by beauty and companionship. Religious life also shapes the oasis towns. The call to prayer echoes through narrow streets, summoning the faithful. Temples and mosques offer spaces for reflection and gratitude. For many travelers, the act of worship brings solace, a reminder of purpose amid the uncertainties of the road. Rituals of purification, offerings for safe passage, and quiet moments of meditation are woven into the daily rhythm. Yet always the road calls. The oasis town is a place of rest, not a final destination. As business concludes, the caravan prepares to move once more. Packs are secured, contracts sealed with handshakes or the press of a seal. Farewells are exchanged, some light-hearted, others tinged with the knowledge that not all will meet again. On the morning of departure, the town stirs before dawn. The sounds of loading echo in the cool air. Animals snort and shift, their breath rising in soft clouds. Travelers don their layered garments, scarves wrapped tightly against the coming gust. Final checks are made. Water skins filled, tools counted, maps consulted. The caravan assembles in the courtyard of the caravanserai, a procession of life ready to face the next leg of the journey. As the gates swing open, the oasis town recedes behind them. The desert awaits once more. Yet the memory of this place will travel with each merchant and guard, each guide and scholar. For these towns, scattered like stars along the Silk Road, are not merely stops on a map. They are the lifeblood of the road itself, sustaining the flow of people, goods, and ideas that have bound east and west for centuries. Chapter 7. The Hidden Caves of Dunhuang. Now imagine the caravan turning once again, approaching the edge of the Gobi Desert. The air grows cooler, the sky broadens, and in the distance, cliffs rise from the flat plain. Here, near the oasis town of Dunhuang, lies one of the Silk Road's most extraordinary sights, a place where art, devotion, and the long memory of countless travelers converge. These are the Mogao Caves, also known as the Caves of the Thousand Buddhas. Carved into the cliffs over centuries, these hidden grottos house an unparalleled collection of sacred art. Merchants, monks, and pilgrims passing through this distant corner of the world left offerings of gratitude, devotion, and hope. Their patronage transformed bare stone into a sanctuary of color and light. Today, the caves stand as a quiet testament to the spiritual life that accompanied the bustling commerce of the Silk Road. Picture the approach in the soft light of morning. The cliff face, honeycombed with dark openings, rises before you. A winding path leads upward, its stones worn smooth by countless feet. Along the way, faded prayer flags flutter in the breeze. The scent of incense lingers in the cool air. Within the caves, all is hushed. The thick walls muffle sound, creating an atmosphere of deep stillness. Step into one of these chambers, and the world outside fades. The walls and ceilings bloom with color. Murals depict scenes of the Buddha's life, celestial beings, and intricate mandalas. The figures are painted in delicate detail, their eyes calm, their gestures serene. Overhead, lotus patterns unfurl across the ceiling, a canopy of symbolic protection. Some caves hold towering statues carved from the living rock. The largest among them rise nearly to the roof, their features softly illuminated by shafts of sunlight or flickering lamps. Their presence is both majestic and gentle, inviting contemplation rather than awe. Around their feet, pilgrims have left offerings, small coins, folded prayers, sprigs of flowers. The creation of these caves was a communal effort. Artisans, supported by wealthy patrons and humble believers alike, worked with devotion and skill. Mineral pigments ground by hand were applied in countless layers. Gold leaf caught the light in sacred halos. No space was left bare. Even the smallest alcove held meaning. For travelers like those in the caravan, the cave offered more than beauty. They provided a space for reflection and refuge. The hardships of the road, the uncertainty of distant markets, the dangers that lay behind and ahead all found quiet counterbalance here. Pilgrims paused to give thanks for safe passage. Merchants made offerings for fortune and protection. Monks chanted sutras that echoed softly through the stone halls. Beyond their spiritual purpose, the caves also served as a repository of knowledge. Scrolls, manuscripts, and records were stored within, many sealed away in hidden chambers. These texts, written in multitude of languages, bear witness to the cultural richness of the Silk Road. Here, one finds the words of Buddhist scholars, government edicts, merchant contracts, and letters from distant lands, each a thread in the vast tapestry of human connection. In this place, amid the flickering light and ancient art, the traveler feels time stretch and soften. The bustling world of trade and commerce recedes, replaced by a sense of continuity that spans centuries. The caves speak not only of the past, but of the enduring human longing for meaning, beauty, and connection. As you move deeper into the complex, the scale and intricacy of the Mogao caves continue to unfold. Some chambers are small, no larger than a modest room, their walls crowded with painted bodhisattvas and delicate floral patterns. Others open into vast halls supported by carved columns, with soaring statues presiding over the sacred space. No two caves are quite the same. Each reflects the devotion of its patrons, the artistry of its creators, and the changing styles of successive centuries. The murals tell stories known to all travelers of the Silk Road. Scenes from the life of the Buddha unfold in a gentle, narrative flow. His birth, renunciation, enlightenment, and teachings. Elsewhere, images depict faraway lands, their peoples rendered with attentive detail. Persian nobles in flowing robes, Indian merchants with laden animals, Chinese scholars bearing scrolls, all are captured in paint. These depictions mirror the world outside, reflecting the diversity of those who passed through Dunhuang. Among the most striking are the celestial scenes. Vast cosmic diagrams stretch across ceilings, mapping the heavens with stars, deities, and mythical creatures. A canopy of painted clouds drifts over processions of gods and guardians, their forms both fearsome and graceful. The craftsmanship is meticulous, the palette still vivid after countless generations. To stand beneath these images is to feel the weight of time, the accumulated hopes and prayers of those who once gazed upon them. For scholars and monks, the caves held knowledge as well as beauty. In a side chamber, scrolls were once carefully stored, wrapped in silk or bound in leather. The famous library cave, sealed for centuries, preserved an astonishing array of texts, scriptures, histories, merchant records, medical treatises, and everyday correspondence. The range of languages reflects the true nature of the Silk Road as a bridge between cultures. Sanskrit, Chinese, Tibetan, Sogdian, Uyghur, and more, each script a voice from the past. Discovery of these manuscripts in later times would reveal much about the lives of ordinary people. Letters between family members, inventories of goods sold in distant markets, accounts of travelers long forgotten. Through these fragile remnants, the rhythm of life on the Silk Road is brought vividly to light. Visitors to the caves, whether pilgrims or merchants, often left their own marks. Inscriptions scratched into walls, small offerings placed in hidden niches, or faded graffiti in the corners of murals. These traces, humble and personal, remind us that behind the grandeur of history lie countless individual lives, each with its own hopes and fears. When the time comes to leave Dunhuang, the memory of the caves lingers. Travelers emerge blinking into the sunlight, their minds filled with images of painted Buddhas and celestial realms. The road ahead beckons, long and uncertain, yet somehow lightened by the encounter with such beauty. The caves have offered more than a respite from hardship. They have provided a glimpse of something enduring, a connection to all who have walked this path before. As the caravan moves on, the towering cliffs fade into the distance, yet within the hearts of the travelers, the peace of that hidden world remains. It will accompany them across deserts and mountains, through bustling markets and lonely camps, a quiet reminder of the deeper currents that flow beneath the busy surface of the Silk Road. Chapter 8: The Mongol Postal Roads. As the caravan ventures eastward across the Silk Road, it soon enters territory once ruled by the mighty Mongol Empire. Under the Khans, vast stretches of Eurasia were unified in a way previously unknown. With this unification came an extraordinary network of communication, the Yam or Mongol postal system. For travelers and merchants alike, the presence of the Yam shaped the very experience of the road, offering both security and speed in a land of great distances. Imagine the caravan approaching a well-maintained station along the postal road. The building is simple but solid, constructed of timber and stone, its courtyard bustling with activity. Mounted messengers arrive in a blur of motion, their horses lathered and winded. Inside, fresh mounts await, along with supplies of food, water, and shelter for the riders. These stations, known as ortus, are spaced at regular intervals across the empire, forming a network that stretches from the steppes of Mongolia to the markets of Persia and beyond. The Mongol postal riders, known for their endurance and skill, wear distinctive garments suited to the rigors of the trail. Their horses, bred for stamina, stand ready in small herds. Messages are carried in leather pouches, often sealed with the Khan's mark. Speed is everything. With a system of relay riders and changing horses, a message can cross the continent in a fraction of the time it would take an ordinary traveler. For merchants and dignitaries granted the favor of the Khan, special passes allow access to this network. To see a traveler bearing a peasant is to know they move with the blessing of the great Khan himself. Yet even for those without such favor, the presence of the postal roads brings benefits. The stations often serve as informal rest points. News of road conditions, bandit movements, or political changes spreads quickly along these routes. A merchant stopping at an ortu may hear of a safer path ahead or a troubled region to avoid. The flow of information becomes as vital as the movement of goods. The efficiency of the Yam astonishes many travelers. Ibn Battuta, Marco Polo, and countless others remark upon it in their writings. They describe how a single rider might cover 100 miles in a day, their arrival heralded by the thundering hooves of a fresh mount. The empire's needs, military, political, and economic drive this system, but its influence touches all who move along the Silk Road. For the ordinary merchant caravan, the road feels subtly different under Mongol rule. The old patchwork of borders and tolls has given way to a more unified administration. The threat of petty warlords is reduced. Passports and travel documents, standardized by imperial decree, ease passage through distant provinces. In many regions, the stability provided by the khans encouraged trade, drawing merchants from as far afield as Italy and India. At night, as the caravan makes camp near the postal road, riders continue their ceaseless journeys. The sound of hooves echoes through the darkness, a reminder of the invisible threads now binding the far corners of the known world. Beneath the stars, amid the murmured conversations of the camp, merchants reflect on this new age of movement and connection. The Silk Road, ancient and enduring, has always carried more than goods. Under the Mongols, it carries ideas and news with an unprecedented swiftness. And for those who depend upon the road for their livelihood, this subtle transformation shapes every step of their long and winding journey. As dawn breaks over the encampment, the merchants stir, preparing once more to follow the road that winds alongside the imperial postal routes. The yam continues its silent work while the caravan resumes its slow and steady progress. Along the way, riders can often be seen galloping past, cloaked against the wind, their expression set in concentration. The regular clatter of hooves on hardened earth serves as a steady accompaniment to the caravan's march. At each postal station, the routines are remarkably efficient. Upon arrival, a rider swiftly dismounts, handing over dispatches to the station master. Fresh mounts are chosen from the waiting herd, saddles quickly adjusted, and within moments the messenger is off again, leaving little more than a cloud of dust in his wake. The stations themselves hum with quiet activity, maintained by local families who take great pride in their role within this vast system. Their loyalty to the Khan ensures the smooth running of the network. For traveling merchants, even brief contact with the yam brings benefits. Stopping at a station provides a rare opportunity to hear news from far-off regions. A passing rider may bring word of changing markets in Samarkand or new edicts from the imperial court in Kambalik. The speed of this information often gives merchants a crucial advantage, allowing them to adjust their plans long before slower caravans can react. Beyond its practical value, the yam fosters a growing sense of connection across vast distances. In an age when most people rarely ventured beyond their native towns, the Silk Road under Mongol stewardship begins to feel like a single, if sprawling, web. A merchant from Tabriz may learn of a policy change in China within weeks. A scholar in Bukhara might hear of distant battles or court intrigues long before the details reach the formal histories. This growing sense of a connected world influences the way travelers think. Conversations in caravan camps touch on matters once distant, the fortunes of the great Khans, the rise and fall of distant cities, the movements of foreign armies. Even the fabric of their caravan itself reflects this interwoven world. Men and women of many languages and faiths walk side by side. Translators work tirelessly. Trust is built not through shared birthplaces, but through the mutual needs of trade and survival. Yet the presence of the yam also serves as a reminder of imperial power. The Khan's authority stretches invisibly along these roads. Taxes are levied, tolls collected. Disputes between travelers may be judged by imperial officials. For all its openness, this is still a world under watchful eyes. The gleaming peza worn by favored envoys signals privilege, but also duty. Those granted use of the postal system owe loyalty in return, their movements recorded, their successes reported. Still, few would deny the advantages brought by this system. The yam allows for faster correspondence between trading partners, greater security on the roads, and more predictable routes. In many ways, it becomes the lifeblood of the Silk Road, ensuring that goods, ideas, and even distant friendships can flourish. As the caravan presses onward, passing from one province to the next, The faint sound of galloping hooves lingers on the wind. It is the rhythm of an empire in motion, the pulse of a world newly bound together. Beneath the open sky, amid the ever-changing landscape, the merchants know they are part of something greater, a network of connections that spans continents and bridges cultures. Chapter 9: Silk, Spices, and Strange Currencies as the caravan moves deeper into the heart of the Silk Road. The true richness of this ancient network reveals itself in every transaction. It is not merely the distance traveled or the dangers faced that define the road, but the incredible diversity of goods that pass along it and the curious systems of exchange that enable their flow. For the merchant, each town and market offers new opportunities and challenges. In this world, one learns quickly that value can take many forms. Silk remains the most celebrated of commodities, its shimmering folds prized from Rome to Kyoto. The fabric's softness, durability, and subtle luster captivate buyers of all stations. Caravans carry bolts of raw silk, dyed cloth, and elaborately embroidered garments. Each carries not only beauty, but also a story of skilled weavers, master dyers, and the distant mulberry groves that nourish the silkworms. Yet silk is only part of the bounty. Spices from distant lands, pepper from India, cinnamon from Ceylon, saffron from Persia, fill the air with exotic scents. Their value is immense, for in the kitchens of Europe and the courts of China, such flavors are worth their weight in silver and gold. Traders guard their spice chests closely, knowing that a single pouch may fund an entire journey. There are goods of more practical nature as well. Steel from Damascus, famed for its strength and beauty, is sought after by warriors and craftsmen alike. Paper, an invention carried westward from China, begins to transform the world of letters and trade. Porcelain, delicate yet strong, travels in padded crates. Jade carvings, amber beads, coral, lapis lazuli, all shimmer beneath the market stalls, each drawing the eye of eager buyers. Yet perhaps most fascinating to the traveler is the matter of currency. In the vast sweep of the Silk Road, no single coin reigns supreme. Instead, a bewildering array of monies circulate, each reflecting the cultures and economies of its place of origin. In the markets of Samarkand, one may see silver dirhams from the Caliphate exchanged alongside Chinese copper cash, Byzantine gold solidi, and Venetian ducats. In some regions, barter holds sway. A bolt of fine silk may purchase horses. A bundle of musk may secure spices. In remote villages, salt itself serves as coin. The savvy merchant learns to navigate this fluid economy, balancing the weight of coins, the bulk of goods, and the delicate art of negotiation. Scales are inspected carefully, coinage is tested for purity. Trust, once earned, becomes as valuable as any minted silver. Beyond tangible goods, the road carries knowledge. Recipes, weaving techniques, religious ideas, and scientific discoveries flow as surely as silk and spice. Conversations in caravanserais often turn to such matters. A scholar shares a new method for distilling oils. A healer offers a recipe for preserving food. A monk speaks of texts copied from ancient scrolls. In this world of exchange, ideas are perhaps the most enduring currency of all. Even the smallest transaction carries weight. A handful of peppercorns changing hands in a dusty market might echo in the kitchens of a far-off court. A bolt of silk, dyed with rare pigments, may inspire new fashions in distant cities. In each exchange, the vast web of the Silk Road comes alive. For the traveler, this constant movement of goods and ideas offers endless fascination. Each market stall, each merchant's chest holds the promise of discovery. Beneath the simple acts of trade lies the deeper truth of the road, that through commerce, Cultures meet, influence, and transform one another. Chapter 9: Silk, Spices, and Strange Currencies. As days pass along the Silk Road, the merchant grows ever more attuned to the nuances of trade. In each region, value shifts like sand upon the wind. A trinket commonplace in one city may command a fortune in the next. What sells well among desert nomads might go unnoticed in the markets of an imperial capital. Success lies not in the mere transport of goods, but in reading these subtle currents, anticipating demand before it arises. In the great bazaars, commerce unfolds as ritual. Beneath vaulted ceilings and amidst colorful stalls, bargaining is an art form, practiced with patience and precision. Buyers and sellers circle one another through long exchanges of pleasantries and offers. A price is never accepted at first or second offer. Respect for the process matters as much as the final sum. The dance of negotiation, marked by smiles, hand gestures, and feigned reluctance, is as familiar to the seasoned merchant as the creak of wagon wheels. The sensory experience of these markets is vivid. The air hums with voices in countless languages: Persian, Arabic, Mongolian, Turkic, Chinese, Greek. The mingled scents of incense, leather, spices, and sweat form a tapestry of fragrance. Light filters through carved wooden screens, catching the gleam of polished metal and silk. Music from distant corners mingles with the rhythmic chant of merchants extolling their wares. To walk among these stalls is to wander through a living mosaic of cultures. Here, too, currency reveals its many faces. In wealthier cities, coinage flows freely. In smaller settlements, barter dominates. The merchant must adapt with agility. A roll of fine cloth may trade for a horse in one place, but only for food in another. Jade beads might buy passage across a guarded bridge, or a place in the shade of a caravanserai. Reputation serves as its own form of currency. A merchant known for fairness will find doors opened and debts honored, while one tainted by deceit may find even coin refused. The flow of goods also brings encounters with rare and curious objects. A Greek manuscript copied in Baghdad. A glass vessel from Venice, shimmering in the light. Tibetan herbs believed to cure unseen ills. Each item carries with it a history, a lineage of hands through which it has passed. To hold such an object is to feel, for a moment, connected to faraway lands and unseen lives. Even the weights and measures of trade vary from place to place. The merchant must memorize them all: the Chinese jin, the Persian batman, the Indian tola. Scales are adjusted carefully, and calculations made with an almost instinctive ease. Errors in such matters can cost dearly. The experienced merchant checks every measure twice, ensuring fairness in a world where trust must be earned anew in every town. Yet amid the complexities of commerce, there is joy, a bargain well struck, the discovery of a rare spice, the satisfaction of seeing one's goods desired and admired. These moments sustain the merchant through the long miles and weary nights. They form the heartbeat of the Silk Road. As evening falls over the market town, the stalls slowly close. Lamps are lit, casting warm pools of light on cobbled streets. Merchants retire to their quarters, counting coin and reviewing ledgers. Over simple meals, tales of the day's exchanges are shared. Plans are made for the morrow. Even in rest, the mind turns to trade, the endless dance of supply and demand. The caravan will soon move on, but the lessons of this place travel with it. For on the Silk Road, every market leaves its mark. Every coin exchanged, every promise made weaves another thread into the great tapestry of commerce that binds this vast and varied world. Chapter 10: Tea and Silk at a Mongol Khan's court now. Imagine the caravan approaching one of the grand encampments or permanent palaces of the Mongol Khans. Unlike the dusty outposts and simple markets of the road, this is a place of wealth and ceremony, a center of imperial power that draws emissaries and merchants from across the known world. Here, beneath gleaming banners and amid the tents or tiled halls of the Khan, goods take on a different meaning. Trade is not merely an exchange of commodities, but an act of diplomacy, of tribute, of performance. The approach is marked by rising anticipation. Well, before the encampment itself is seen, the road grows busy with travelers of many kinds. Envoys bearing messages from distant rulers, scribes, craftsmen, and cooks move with purpose. Lines of herdsmen drive flocks of sheep and cattle toward the kitchens. Guards in ornate armor ride watchfully, their presence a quiet reminder of imperial authority. As the caravan draws near, the scale of the place becomes clear. A sprawling city of tents and pavilions spreads across the plain, each richly decorated. Silken banners ripple in the breeze, their colors bright against the sky. Within the central compound stand great halls or yurts of dazzling craftsmanship. Walls are hung with tapestries and embroidered silks. Floors are strewn with the finest carpets. The air is rich with the scent of incense and roasting meats. For a merchant fortunate enough to gain audience at the Khan's court, preparation is key. Gifts are chosen with care. Rare spices, fine fabrics, exotic animals, precious metals. The quality of the gift reflects the merchant's status and the respect they wish to convey. Along with the goods come words of flattery and carefully rehearsed greetings. To fail in such matters is to risk not only insult but exclusion from trade entirely. Within the court itself, all is governed by ritual. Attendants guide visitors through a series of formal greetings. Scribes record their names and the nature of their offerings. Musicians play softly in the background. The Khan, whether seated upon a raised dais or reclining in a place of honor, receives each guest with measured attention. His expression remains inscrutable. A nod, a word, a flick of the hand may carry great meaning. Tea is often served not simply as refreshment, but as part of the ceremony. The cups, crafted from porcelain or fine metals, are presented with both hands. The tea itself, rich and fragrant, reflects the refinement of the court. Sipping slowly, the guest listens for cues, aware that much is conveyed through tone and gesture rather than direct speech. In this rarefied space, the flow of trade takes on a different character. Agreements are not sealed by mere coin, but by mutual recognition of rank and obligation. A merchant granted favor may receive not only the right to trade, but letters of safe passage, escorts, or introductions to other courts. Such rewards can transform fortunes, opening doors far beyond the reach of ordinary commerce. The goods themselves are inspected with keen eyes. A bolt of silk may be praised for its texture, its dye, its pattern. A casket of spices may be tested by taste and scent. In return, the Khan's own craftsmen and traders offer goods of equal splendor: lacquerware, jewelry, rare stones, intricately worked arms and armor. The exchange becomes a dance of prestige, each party seeking to impress and to honor. Beneath the surface formality, alliances are formed and rivalries played out. To stand well in the Khan's court is to gain not only wealth but influence, a foothold in the shifting politics of empire. For the merchant, the rewards are immense, but so too are the risks. One misstep, one unintended slight, may bring sudden ruin. Yet for those who navigate this world with skill, the court offers unmatched opportunity. And as the caravan lingers amid its splendor, the merchant reflects on how far the road has carried them. From the barren sands of the desert to the very heart of empire, in the days that follow, life within the Khan's court unfolds according to its own intricate rhythm. Each morning begins with the sounds of preparation, the rustle of silks, the clatter of kitchen vessels, the low chant of guards changing shifts. The scent of rich broths and baked breads wafts through the encampment. Courtiers, envoys, and favored merchants rise early to attend the first audiences of the day, each seeking favor or reward. For the visiting merchant, every moment at court carries opportunity. New alliances may be forged over quiet cups of tea. Fellow traders from distant lands share tidings of market trends, shipping routes, and political changes. At lavish feasts, one may find oneself seated beside a Persian envoy, a Russian fur merchant, or a Buddhist monk from India. Conversation flows easily in such settings, lubricated by fine wines and rich fare. The meals themselves reflect the cosmopolitan nature of the court. Roasted meats, seasoned with exotic spices, are served alongside delicate dumplings and sweet pastries. Fermented Mara's milk and aromatic teas accompany each course. The tableware, gleaming with gold and inlaid with precious stones, speaks of the Khan's boundless wealth and taste. Yet for all the splendor, the Khan himself often prefers the simple dignity of tradition, seated cross-legged beneath the great canopy, surrounded by his most trusted advisors. Entertainment, too, forms a vital part of court life. Musicians from every corner of the empire perform with lutes, flutes, and drums. Dancers in elaborate costumes move with practiced grace. Storytellers recount epic tales, their voices weaving through the halls. Contests of skill archery, wrestling, and horse racing are held on the surrounding plains, drawing eager crowds. The merchant watches, absorbing these displays, knowing that understanding the court's culture is as important as mastering its commerce. Meanwhile, trade negotiations proceed at a measured pace. The Khan's agents inspect the merchants' remaining goods with care, appraising their worth and considering their place within the imperial economy. Deals are struck through a combination of spoken words, written contracts, and silent gestures. Sometimes a nod from an influential minister carries greater weight than pages of formal agreement. As the days lengthen, the merchant begins to sense when their time at court draws to a close. The best deals are made, alliances secured, obligations fulfilled. A final audience may be granted, during which the merchant offers thanks and presents a token of gratitude. In return, the Khan or his representative may bestow gifts of their own: a fine horse, a cloak of imperial silk, or a stamped letter granting rights and protection along future routes. The departure is marked by ceremony. Fellow merchants and envoys offer farewells, some in earnest friendship, others with the calculated politeness of rivals. The merchant's caravan is restocked, guards assigned, and the great banners once again unfurled. The return to the road brings a mingling of relief and reflection. Much has been gained, but much remains ahead. As the encampment fades into the distance, the merchant ponders all that has transpired. The court of the Khan is a world apart where trade, politics, and ceremony intertwine. To succeed here is to earn not just profit, but prestige. The experiences of these days will shape future ventures, inform future negotiations, and perhaps, in quieter moments, become stories shared beneath the stars along the endless Silk Road. Chapter 11: The Lost Cities of the Silk Road. As the caravan continues its long journey across Central Asia, the travelers pass through landscapes marked not only by the traces of life, but also by the quiet remains of what once was. Scattered across the vast deserts and windswept plains of the Silk Road lie the ruins of once thriving cities. Places that rose with the ebb and flow of trade, only to fade with the changing tides of history. These are the lost cities of the Silk Road, silent witnesses to centuries of human ambition, ingenuity, and impermanence. Imagine the caravan winding through a stretch of barren land. the horizon broken by low mounds of earth and crumbling stone. Here and there, fragments of carved masonry, shards of glazed pottery, or the remains of ancient walls emerge from the sand. The bones of a city, long abandoned. The guides slow their pace, voices hushed, as if in respect for what remains. One such place might be Lull, once a vital oasis along the southern route of the Taklamakan. Centuries ago, it teemed with merchants and pilgrims. Its canals brought life to the desert, its markets bustled with goods from across Asia. Now, only windswept ruins remain, half buried in the encroaching sands. The air is dry and still, the silence broken only by the faint sigh of the breeze. For the observant traveler, signs of former life abound. A stretch of broken wall, its bricks still bearing traces of ancient inscriptions, the faint outline of a temple courtyard. Scattered timbers worn smooth by time. Each fragment tells a story, though the full tale has faded with the generations. The city once echoed with footstep, laughter, and the calls of traders, but now lies quiet beneath the sun. Other cities, too, have vanished from the maps. Places like Gaoshang, once a bustling hub of commerce and culture, now reduced to weathered stone and dust. Each was shaped by the ebb and flow of empire, by shifting trade routes, by the harsh hand of nature. Rivers dried, sands advanced, wars were fought and forgotten. In time, even the greatest centers of trade can fall silent. Yet in these ruins, a strange beauty lingers. The traveler feels the weight of centuries in the air. It is easy to imagine the once vibrant streets, the clamor of marketplaces, the solemn chants from temples long gone. Ghosts of the past seem to drift among the ruins, whispering of fortunes made and lost, of lives lived with hope and fear. For merchants, these lost cities serve as quiet lessons. They remind all who pass that prosperity is fragile, dependent on forces far beyond any one person's control. The Silk Road is shaped as much by decline as by flourishing. Wise traders know to read the signs of change, to adapt to shifting paths, to never take the wealth of the road for granted. Even in ruin, the cities give back to those who visit. Artifacts unearthed by the winds may find their way into new hands. Legends inspire new tales told around evening fires. And for the thoughtful traveler, the ruins offer moments of reflection, a chance to ponder the impermanence of human endeavor beneath the vast and patient sky. The caravan moves on, leaving behind the crumbling walls and scattered stones. Ahead lie new markets, new opportunities. But the memory of these lost cities lingers, a quiet reminder of the Silk Road's long and ever-changing story. As the caravan continues its passage beyond the fading outlines of ancient cities, conversation turns often to their history. Around evening fires, seasoned merchants recount the rise and fall of these lost places. Some speak of flourishing markets where rare goods once flowed freely. Others tell darker tales of sieges, drought, or plague that emptied streets and silenced once prosperous towns. In each story, there is an undercurrent of respect for the forces of time and fate. Among these lost cities are those known only through legend. Travelers may speak in hushed tones of the city of copper, said to lie beneath the sands of the western deserts, its riches sealed away by the wrath of the heavens. Others recall tales of a vanished kingdom in the high mountains, its inhabitants spirited away in a single night. Such stories, whether true or embroidered with generations of retelling, lend the road a certain mystique, a sense that mystery lies just beyond the next ridge or beneath the next dune. Some ruins still yield tangible treasures. From half-buried stupas and collapsed warehouses, fragments of painted pottery, bronze mirrors, or delicate jewelry occasionally surface. These remnants find their way into the hands of collectors, scholars, or fellow merchants, adding new chapters to the artifact's long journeys. For those lucky enough to uncover such pieces, the thrill of discovery is tempered by the knowledge of the fragile line between reverence and plunder. Most merchants tread carefully, respecting both local custom and the spirit of the place. Beyond material relics, the greatest gift of these cities may be the lessons they teach. Empires rise and fall. Trade routes shift with rivers, wars, and new inventions. Once thriving centers can, in a generation or two, fall into ruin, reclaimed by the desert or the forest. The wise merchant understands the need for adaptability, for a keen eye that reads the winds of change. Prosperity along the Silk Road belongs not to those who cling to the past, but to those who embrace the shifting present. In some places, small communities still linger at the edges of ancient ruins. Families tending irrigated gardens where once great cities stood, children playing among broken columns. These lives continue the human story of the place, bridging past and present. A merchant pausing to buy fruit or share tea in such a village gains more than refreshment. They glimpse resilience, the enduring human spirit that persists despite all that time and fortune may bring. As the caravan leaves these silent places behind, the impressions remain. The quiet dignity of ruined walls. The faded beauty of ancient frescoes glimpsed in a half-collapsed chamber. The knowledge that each footstep joins the countless others that have passed this way. Beneath the vast, unchanging sky, the road continues, but it carries with it the echoes of all that came before. In the heart of each merchant, the memory of the lost cities becomes part of their own story. A reminder of the Silk Road's endless cycle of change, of glory and decline, of journeys that stretch not only across the land but across the ages. And so, beneath the shifting sands and fading stones, the spirit of these ancient places endures, quietly woven into the fabric of the road itself. Chapter 12, Marco Polo's caravan journey now. Picture the Silk Road through the eyes of one of its most famous travelers, Marco Polo, a young Venetian merchant. He set out in 1271 with his father and uncle, bound for the court of Kublai Khan. What followed would become one of the most legendary journeys in the history of the road, not only for its length and daring, but for the vivid account Polo would later give to the Western world. As the caravan makes its way eastward, Marco would have encountered much that was strange and wondrous. The deserts of Persia with their shimmering heat, the snow-capped mountains of the Pamirs, where the air grew thin and travelers gasped with each step. The green oases of Central Asia, where life flourished against all odds. Every mile brought new sights, new customs, new challenges. Like all who traveled the Silk Road, Marco Polo faced the realities of distance and danger, sandstorms that blotted out the sun. Treacherous passes where narrow paths clung to cliff edges. Rivers swollen with meltwater, difficult to ford. Yet through it all, the young Venetian observed keenly, his curiosity as boundless as the road itself. He marveled at the great cities of the East. In the markets of Kashgar, he saw goods from every corner of Asia. In Samarkand, he admired the blend of Persian and Chinese influences. Each city was a tapestry of languages, faiths, and fashions. Marco Polo learned to listen closely, to note the subtle shifts in dialect and custom, skills as valuable as any map or guide. The journey also demanded resilience. Days on end beneath a burning sun, nights spent in wind-battered tents or simple roadside inns, meals of dried meat, hard bread, or whatever could be found along the way. And always the endless motion of the caravan, the steady rhythm of hooves and footsteps across vast and varied lands. Yet for Polo, each hardship was repaid by wonder. The architecture of distant cities, the strange creatures described by local traders, some real, some imagined, the technologies of the East, from paper money to advanced metallurgy. the medicines and spices that seemed to hold secrets unknown in Europe. These discoveries would later astonish his countrymen, though to Polo they were simply part of a wider, interconnected world. At the heart of his journey was the long-awaited audience with Kublai Khan. To reach the imperial court was itself an achievement, the culmination of years of effort. The Khan's favor, once earned, opened doors that might otherwise have remained closed. It allowed Polo to travel further still, as an envoy and observer, into regions few Europeans had ever seen. But even before reaching the great Khan's palace, the Silk Road had already left its mark. The caravan journey taught patience, humility, and an appreciation for the vast diversity of the human experience. It revealed the bonds that tied East and West long before Polo's time, forged not only by commerce but by curiosity and mutual respect. As the caravan pressed on through the high plateaus and river valleys of the East, Marco Polo recorded each detail with the sharp eye of a true traveler. His accounts would one day shape the imaginations of countless others, inspiring further journeys along these ancient paths. And through his words, the spirit of the Silk Road would live on. The farther Marco Polo traveled, the more his understanding of the Silk Road deepened. Beyond its role as a trade route, he began to see it as a great artery of culture and knowledge, binding diverse peoples together in a shared pursuit of prosperity and discovery. Every city, every caravanserai revealed another facet of this vast network. Among the most remarkable of Polo's observations were the innovations of the East. In the tiny cities he would later describe, he saw the widespread use of paper currency, a system both efficient and bewildering to European sensibilities. He marveled at the engineering of canals and bridges, the orderliness of government records, and the skill of artisans whose work surpassed anything he had seen at home. Even the organization of the roads themselves impressed him. The Mongol postal system, with its network of stations and relay riders, allowed messages in small parcels to travel with astonishing speed. Merchants and officials moved along these routes with greater safety and predictability than had once been possible. For Polo, this was a sign of an empire not only vast, but well-ordered and forward-looking. Through all this, Polo remained a careful observer of people. He described the dress, customs, and beliefs of the many cultures he encountered. He listened to local stories, some rooted in fact, others in legend. Whether recounting the habits of mountain-dwelling tribes, the splendors of a Buddhist temple, or the curious tales of a distant land, his accounts reflected a deep interest in the world's diversity. At the court of Kublai Khan, Polo's journey reached its zenith. The Khan, ruler of a vast and multicultural empire, welcomed him into his service. As an envoy, Polo was granted access to regions few foreigners could reach, from the bustling ports of southern China to the remote provinces of the north. He traveled extensively, gathering insights that would one day astonish European readers. Yet, amid the grandeur of the imperial court, Polo never forgot the road that had brought him there. The Silk Road remained a living thread through all his experiences, a pathway along which goods, ideas, and friendships flowed. His accounts would later inspire generations of explorers and merchants to venture eastward, drawn by the same spirit of curiosity and adventure. When, after many years, Polo began the long journey home, he did so with a mind forever changed. The Silk Road had shown him the breadth of the world, the ingenuity of its peoples, and the possibilities of connection across great distances. His return was not merely a personal triumph, but the beginning of a new chapter in the shared history of East and West. As the caravan once again crossed the deserts and mountains of Central Asia, Polo looked upon familiar lands with new eyes. He understood now that the road itself was a living thing, shaped by countless journeys, each adding to its story. And so, as the sands whispered beneath the hooves of passing camels, the tale of Marco Polo became part of the Silk Road's endless journey. Chapter 13: Wolves and Ghost Stories on the Steppe. As the caravan moves northward across the vast, rolling steppe, a new landscape unfolds. Gone are the narrow mountain passes and winding desert trails. Here, the world stretches wide and open, a sea of grass beneath a boundless sky. The wind moves freely, carrying scents of earth and distant rain. Herds of wild horses graze in the distance, their movements graceful and unhurried. The pace of the caravan slows, adapting to the rhythm of the land. Yet amid this seeming tranquility, an ancient tension lingers. The steppe is a place of deep memory, of stories passed down through generations. Around evening fires, when the sky darkens and stars emerge, merchants and guides share tales that stir both curiosity and caution. Chief among these are stories of wolves and restless spirits, woven into the very fabric of life on the steppe. Wolves, sleek and cunning, roam the grasslands in loose packs. Their howls echo through the night, rising and falling in haunting chorus. To the seasoned traveler, these calls are familiar, a natural part of the steppe soundscape. Yet when the howls grow closer, the air shifts. Horses grow restless, snorting and stamping. Guards tighten their circles, spears and bows at the ready. Though attacks on humans are rare, a hungry pack can harry livestock, driving off valuable animals in the dark. Veteran caravan leaders speak of tactics passed down through the ages. Fires are kept burning through the night. Animals are tethered close to the camp, their flanks shielded by wagons and tents. Some merchants hang strips of cloth or jangling bells to dissuade curious predators. Even so, the sound of padding feet just beyond the circle of light is enough to quicken any heart. Beyond the wolves, the steppe holds older, stranger fears. Stories abound of ghostly riders seen at dawn, their forms half visible through the morning mist. Of spectral camps that appear on the horizon, only to vanish when approached. Of whispered voices carried on the wind, speaking in no known tongue, whether born of truth or imagination. Such tales serve to remind all who cross the steppe that this is a land shaped as much by spirit as by stone. Among the caravan's members, these stories prompt quiet reflection. Some wear charms or amulets for protection. Others offer quiet prayers to local spirits, hoping for safe passage. On particularly still nights when the wind falls silent and the stars burn cold and bright, even the most rational traveler may find their thoughts wandering into shadowed realms. Yet for all its mysteries, the steppe also offers moments of profound beauty. Dawn spreads in slow waves of color, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose. The grasses shimmer with dew, each blade catching the morning light. The air carries the rich scent of earth and growing things. It is a place where life moves to ancient rhythms, where the land itself seems to breathe. For the caravan, these crossings are both challenge and reward. The openness of the steppe demands vigilance, endurance, and respect. But it also offers space for the mind to wander, for old tales to find new listeners, and for bonds between travelers to deepen. Beneath the vast sky, amid the rolling grasslands, the spirit of the Silk Road moves onward, ever shaped by the landscapes and legends it encounters. As the caravan presses further across the endless grasslands, the mood among the travelers shifts subtly with the land. In the openness of the steppe, where horizons stretch unbroken in all directions, one becomes more aware of the passage of time, the vastness of space, and the fragility of human life within it. The caravan's movements fall into a steady rhythm dictated by sun and weather. During the day, the grasses ripple in waves beneath the wind. By night, the stars above appear sharper and nearer, as if the heavens lean closer to the earth. Stories continue to flow among the travelers, especially in the evenings when the wagons form a protective ring and fires flicker against the encroaching dark. Seasoned guides speak of ancient burial mounds scattered across the steppe, their low profiles barely visible amid the grasses. These are places of respect and caution. No camp is made nearby. No loud voices disturb their silence. Some say that to do otherwise invites ill fortune or worse, the attention of spirits that linger in forgotten realms. Tales of spectral riders remain a favorite topic. Some merchants claim to have glimpsed them on misty mornings, lone figures astride pale horses, moving swiftly across the horizon, then vanishing as if swallowed by the dawn. Explanations vary. Some say these are the shades of long-dead warriors, still bound to the land by ancient oaths. Others believe they are visions sent by the steppe itself, reminders of the countless lives that have passed through this timeless expanse. Practical concerns, too, shape each night's encampment. The wolves of the steppe remain an ever-present reality. Guards walk their rounds without fail, torches and weapons in hand. The younger merchants listen keenly to the calls in the distance, learning to distinguish the long, mournful howl of a lone wolf from the sharper chorus of a hunting pack. If danger draws near, the caravan responds as one. Fires are stoked higher, animals gathered close, bows readied without panic. The harmony of practiced vigilance is itself a comfort. Amid these precautions, a deep camaraderie grows among the caravan's members, shared meals beneath the stars, quiet songs sung in many tongues. The slow weaving of friendship and trust that forms among those who rely on one another in such remote places. Old rivalries soften, replaced by mutual respect. In the face of the steppe's vastness, the divisions of homeland, language, and creed seem to fade. Day by day, the caravan moves onward. The grass is thin in places, replaced by patches of dry earth or clusters of low shrubs. The sky shifts in color and mood with each passing hour. Here, the land teaches patience and humility. To hurry is to court misfortune. Instead, the travelers learn to match the pace of the land itself, deliberate, attentive, respectful of the unseen forces that shape the road ahead. Eventually, distant signs of civilization return, a wisp of smoke on the horizon, the faint outline of a watchtower, the scent of cooking carried on the wind. With relief and perhaps a touch of wistfulness, the caravan approaches the next settlement. The open steppe lies behind them, its mysteries and stories now woven into their own. They carry these tales forward to be shared in markets and inns by future fires beneath distant stars. Chapter 14. A merchant's return home at last. The long journey begins to turn westward. After months, perhaps years on the road, the merchant's caravan approaches the familiar landscapes of home. The anticipation is quiet but deep, carried in every glance toward the horizon. The path that once led outward into the unknown now curves back, heavy with memory, experience, and the weight of new goods and stories to share. The road still demands attention. There are rivers to cross, border treks to endure, and the lingering threats of illness or banditry. Yet each step feels lighter. The traders know these lands. The landmarks speak of past journeys, of milestones reached and friendships formed. Familiar caravanserais offer warm welcomes. Old acquaintances greet the returning merchants with knowing smiles. News is exchanged eagerly. What markets are strong, which towns have prospered or declined. The caravan itself has changed since setting out. Some companions are no longer present, having chosen other paths or fallen to misfortune. New faces have joined, drawn by opportunity or chance encounters. The goods within the wagons tell a story of distant lands' fine silks, fragrant spices, exotic dyes, delicate porcelain, and sturdy tools. Each item bears the imprint of countless hands, a link in the unbroken chain of trade that binds east and west. As the caravan draws closer to home, the merchant reflects on all that has passed, the stark beauty of desert landscapes, the bustle of foreign markets, the solemn grandeur of imperial courts, the quiet moments beneath starlit skies when the road stretched endlessly ahead. Each memory is a thread woven into the fabric of the journey, shaping the merchant's understanding of the world and their place within it. There's also the keen awareness of change. The merchant has returned, but they are not the same. The languages heard, the customs observed, the friendships forged across cultural divides, all have broadened the mind, softened old prejudices, and planted seeds of curiosity that will long outlast the journey itself. The Silk Road is not merely a path across the land, but a path through the heart and mind, transforming those who travel it. In the final stretches of the journey, the pace slows. The caravan's leader ensures that the goods arrive in good order, that the animals remain strong, that no detail is neglected. Letters are sent ahead to announce their approach. Word spreads quickly through the merchant's household and community. Families prepare for the return, eager to hear tales of adventure and to see the treasures brought from afar. And as the caravan crests the last ridge, the merchant catches sight of the familiar roofs and winding streets of home. The journey is not yet over, but the sight stirs a deep, quiet joy. Soon there will be reunions, celebrations, and the telling of stories by the warmth of the hearth. Contracts will be honored, debts repaid, fortunes made and shared. But for now, there is the simple satisfaction of return, of a road well traveled and a life enriched by its passing. At the city gates, the returning caravan is met by officials who record its passage. Taxes are assessed, tariffs negotiated. The merchant, now practiced in such dealings, moves through these formalities with calm efficiency. The goods are examined: spices, silks, ceramics, and rare curiosities from distant lands, all carefully documented. The caravan's safe arrival is cause for a quiet celebration, for the road has many risks, and not all journeys end in safe return. Within the city, word of the caravan's arrival spreads swiftly. Fellow merchants, friends, and family gather to greet the travelers. There are embraces and laughter, tales exchanged of what has been seen and endured. The youngest members of the caravan, once inexperienced, are now seasoned by the road, their faces bearing the subtle marks of long travel. Around them, life resumes its familiar rhythms, yet each person carries something new from the journey wisdom, perspective, and stories that will be told for years to come. The unloading of the caravan is a carefully orchestrated task. Goods are moved from wagons to storerooms. The merchant oversees the process, ensuring that fragile items remain intact, that spices are kept dry, that textiles are unblemished by the dust of the road. Trusted assistants prepare inventories. Customers arrive early, eager to see the rare wares, to touch fabrics from the East, to taste spices they have only heard of in stories. As business resumes, the merchant finds time for quieter moments. There are letters to write, correspondence with partners met along the road, couriers dispatched with news to distant cities. There are debts to settle, rewards to distribute among those who shared the journey. And in the evenings, there is the pleasure of returning to the comforts of home, familiar food, the company of loved ones, the simple joy of a restful night beneath a known roof. Yet even in these restful days, the road calls softly to the heart. Maps are studied anew. Reports from other merchants spark curiosity. Rumors of shifting markets or newly opened routes stir the imagination. The Silk Road is ever-changing, its paths shaped by politics, fortune, and the ceaseless tide of human ambition. For the merchant who has walked its length, the desire to return remains strong. Each journey deepens understanding. Each new encounter weaves another thread into the tapestry of life. As weeks turn to months, the stories of the journey ripple through the city. Children listen wide-eyed to tales of desert storms and distant courts. Fellow merchants seek counsel on the best routes, the wisest trades. The merchant, once a traveler among many, now becomes a bearer of knowledge, a bridge between cultures, a voice of experience in a world knit together by trade. And so, life continues. The merchant moves through familiar streets, each step informed by distant memories. The Silk Road is never truly left behind. It lives in the spices in the market, in the shimmer of foreign cloth, in the stories shared by the firelight. It remains a part of the merchant's heart, a journey without end. The road will call again, as it always does, and when it does, the merchant will answer, ready once more to walk the ancient paths beneath the vast and endless sky.
As the long arc of the Silk Road draws to an end, the mind lingers on all we have encountered along the way, through shifting sands, narrow mountain passes, fertile valleys, and endless grasslands. We have followed the rhythms of ancient trade, walking in the footsteps of countless travelers who braved the road before us. Merchants and pilgrims, scholars and adventurers, each carved their place into this vast and winding network, not only moving goods, but ideas, beliefs, and dreams across the world. The Silk Road was never a single route, nor merely a path of commerce. It was, and remains, a living tapestry of human connection, across thousands of miles, through languages and landscapes as varied as the stars above. It bound together distant peoples with threads of curiosity and mutual need. Silks and spices, gold and glass, words and wisdom all flowed along its length, shaping empires, forging friendships, and leaving stories behind in every city and village it touched. Yet beneath the grandeur of kings and the fortunes of great houses, it was also the road of the ordinary traveller, the merchant haggling in a crowded bazaar, the caravan guard standing watch beneath cold stars, the guide reading the subtle signs of wind and sand, the cook preparing simple meals from meager stores. In these quiet, unseen moments, the true life of the Silk Road unfolded, a life of endurance, trust, hardship, and hope. And though centuries have passed, though the great khans are gone and the caravans no longer cross in their thousands, the spirit of the Silk Road endures in every connection across cultures, in the global networks of today, in the mingling of languages, foods, and ideas. We hear echoes of those ancient footsteps. The world remains a place of movement, curiosity, and exchange. As you settle now into rest, let your thoughts drift back across those vast distances and quiet nights. Imagine, again, the endless stars above the steppe, the cool touch of desert winds, the murmur of voices in a distant caravan. Know that in remembering these journeys, we keep their spirit alive, and as with all good journeys, while this one draws to a close for now, the road itself continues waiting for the next travel, the next story, the next dream to follow its path. And so, dear listener, as the caravan finally returns home and the dust of distant roads settles, we to draw this quiet journey to a close. The Silk Road, with all its wonders, perils, and endless horizons, has offered us a glimpse into a world shaped not only by trade, but by human curiosity, endurance, and connection. Across deserts and mountains, through bustling markets and silent ruins, we have traveled alongside merchants, pilgrims, and storytellers, each leaving their mark upon this ancient path. As you rest now beneath your own familiar sky, remember that these roads still live on, not only in the stones of forgotten cities or the pages of old accounts, but in the very fabric of our world, in every spice upon your table, In every thread of silk, in the shared stories of distant lands, echoes of the Silk Road remain. The journeys of the past continue to shape the present, quietly weaving us all together. Thank you for traveling with me tonight, along this long and gentle road. If you enjoyed this journey, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to explore more forgotten paths of history with me, do like, share, and subscribe to The Drowsy Historian. I promise there are many more quiet stories yet to come. But for now, may your night be restful, your dreams be calm, and your heart carry a little of the Silk Road's wonder with it. Good night.